Before we begin this episode, I just wanted to let you know about our free quiz, What's Your Relationship Archetype? All you have to do is fill out 10 simple questions and that will tell you what archetype you are, whether you are the mountain, the sun, the wind, or the ocean. And from there, you're going to find out more about your attachment style and how it impacts your relationship. So all you have to do is go into the link in the show notes to get started. Oh, and don't forget to let me know what archetype you are. All right, let's get back to the episode. Welcome to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I'm Sammy, a certified breakup and relationship coach, attachment specialist, former love addict, and spiritual junkie. This podcast is for you, the hopeless romantic who loves to love, and a safe space for us to explore and heal our attachment trauma, broken hearts, and love addictions. Together, we are on a mission to become the love of our own lives so we can have successful, healthy, secure relationships with others. So if you're ready to create a life and love beyond your wildest desires, you're in the right place. Your journey towards becoming more secure in love and life starts now. Hello, beautiful secure lovers, and welcome back for another episode here in the Relationship Rehab. Or if you're new here, welcome into the Relationship Rehab. It's so good to have you here join us. And I would say that I release new episodes every Tuesday, but instead, I'm going to say I'm going to try my best to release new episodes every Tuesday because I travel a lot. I move around a lot. I consider myself a bit of a digital nomad. So there might be the odd week or here or there where I might be a little bit late. So in those weeks, I just ask for your grace and compassion. But I will do my best to release a new episode every week on the Tuesday day. Okay, so this episode is based off of a question that I got from my last episode. So the last episode really resonated with a lot of you. It was about sabotaging relationships. I told you the story about how that came about in my own life, and a lot of you reached out just sharing your stories about how sabotage was unfortunately present in your past relationships, or it was others that expressed fears and concerns about their own behavior in their relationships and fearing that they are also sabotaging. And yeah, just really great feedback from that episode. But there was one question that really stood out to me that I want to be able to answer in this episode. And the question goes, how did you forgive yourself? I lost what I consider the love of my life this way, and I can't forgive myself for screwing that up because he was everything I ever wanted in a partner and such a loving and beautiful soul. Oh, this question just struck such a chord with me, and it took me right back to that moment where I felt like I could never forgive myself for what I did. And I hope that by talking about what it was like for me back then and the process that I went through, that this will give you some insight and hope that the same result will happen for you. You will get to that space if you truly want to be able to forgive yourself and move on from this. Even better, that this almost becomes your breakthrough, that this becomes the time where you really transform your pain into power and you start to make that decision for yourself that you will not do that again, that you will not be in that space again, and you are going to do all that you can to be able to do the work on yourself so your next relationship is not a repeat of our past relationships. So I remember that moment when I thought to myself, I don't think I can ever forgive myself for this. I have lost the love of my life. This amazing man who was so willing to be everything and do everything for me. And when we are so in love with someone and we are committed and serious, you start to plan, you start to have a vision of the life together years down the line. And when we go through breakups, we lose all of that as well. We have to break up with the vision and the idea that we have about our future and about our relationship and about that person themselves, and be able to formulate a new kind of future and sense of self as well. And that can be really daunting and scary. And I remember having thoughts like, oh God, I screwed up. I effed the hell up out of this. Like, what have I done? I have lost him. I have lost this amazing person. And when we are in those types of thoughts and we're spiraling, and alongside it comes those emotions of like feeling so sick to your stomach that you have sabotaged this relationship and you've lost him, and then the fears start to come in and you might think, oh my God, I'm going to be alone forever because he was my person. Like, he was my person. Now I'm just going to be alone forever because there's no one else out there that's better than this beautiful, loving soul who, you know, was in my life. And we get so wrapped up in these thoughts and fears that we end up kind of putting them on a pedestal. And we are way down here beating ourselves up with a shame and blame stick and thinking that, of course, they left. We're not good enough. We're not worthy. We're being abandoned yet again. Like, who would want to be with me? I'm just trash. And you feel like that in the moment. You feel like the worst person in the world because maybe you hurt them in some way, but you hurt yourself even more in the process. So I remember as well, I'm going through this process, I had hope. I had hope that maybe I could change this around. Maybe if I just prove to him that I could change some of these things about myself, about my behavior, that he was going to want to come back and be with me, that he's going to want to work and repair on the relationship. And sometimes that does happen, but it didn't for me, unfortunately. But I remember that was the point where I'm like, right, I'm going to change. I am going to do the work on myself so I can win them back. A lot of us are at this point where when we start to do the work on our attachment style and the way that we are in relationships and our communication skills, we're doing it for someone else. We're doing it to either win back our ex or to stay in our current relationship. And we often don't do it for ourselves, but this is the most important person to do it for. I did end up getting to that point where I realized that I'm not going to get him back. I'm not going to win him back. I needed to win myself back. I needed to come back to myself. I needed to do the work on myself. And I see this a lot with clients and people coming into my programs. Yes, sometimes we need to be catapulted by a relationship or to win someone back or to be with someone. And along the journey, we start to realize actually this is the work for us. Even if the result that we wanted when we first started this program to get into that healthy relationship or have that secure partner, that's just a bonus now. That's just a bonus for the work that I'm prepared to do on myself, because I'm starting to notice changes in myself, more happiness, more peace, more contentment. And that, my friends, is the prize. Being able to have a relationship with yourself that's full of deep connection and deep intimacy. So that was the most beautiful realization that I had during this process. But taking you back to the story, I went away to be with all these heavy emotions and pain, and I checked myself into a yoga retreat, and I remember just not being able to eat and crying, and it was so wonderful that I had a great support system there on the island where I went for my yoga retreat. And then I came back, and I was actually living with his family at the time in Bangkok. And he went away for work, and we had a deal that I will be able to stay in the family home until I was ready. Like, he was so good in that way. And a part of me wanted to just stay with the family because I felt close to him. I thought as long as I'm kind of still in with the family, I'm still in with him. And I gaslit myself in a way that I thought everything was going to be fine if I can just prove to him that I'm trying to be better and stay in with the family, because it was breaking my heart to think that I needed to leave this family who had taken me in as their own daughter. And I kind of put my head under the pillow for a bit. And then I realized as the weeks were going on that it was just not going to happen, that he had made a decision and that decision was set. And it wasn't until he met someone else that I started to make those changes, those moves out of the family home. And I remember thinking back, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to be if he meets someone else. I think I might just throw myself off a cliff because I don't think I could bear with the feelings and everything that's going to come as a result of that. But actually, when it happened, it didn't feel as bad as I thought. If anything, it gave me the push that I needed in so many different ways to physically move out to the family home, but also to just step up for myself, right? I cannot live in this bubble anymore of hoping that I'm going to win him back or proving to him. I need to prove to myself that I can do this, that I can formulate a new future for myself, a new life, and be able to get to know myself again outside of this relationship. So I moved out to the family home and I started a new life in Nepal. And I stayed in Nepal for 6 months to have this forgiveness and healing journey that I knew I needed to go on. So I've given you a bit of a nutshell idea of what my process looked like in terms of forgiving myself for losing what I thought was the love of my life in that time. So what I want to say to you, my love, if you are struggling to forgive yourself for losing a relationship or anything really, when we talk about the concept of forgiveness, is that it's a process and it should not be rushed. Sometimes we want to get to that final stage of processing a breakup because it hurts too much, because we just want to move on already. We just want to meet someone else already. We just want to feel better already. But it cannot be rushed. Forgiveness is not something that you can fake. It's a result of processing the breakup. It's kind of one of the final stages. So forgiveness is built. It's not kind of a one and done thing. It's built up over time as you go through the stages of processing. So I'm going to go through these stages just quickly to talk about what forgiveness looks like in each of these stages and to see if you can identify where you're at in these stages, to see what needs to happen in order to keep moving yourself through the stages. And when I say moving yourself through the stages, it's not like a linear path. It is a roller coaster, as a lot of us know when it comes to breakups. A roller coaster. Sometimes you feel like you're making progress and then you're falling backwards, or what you think you're falling backwards, when really you're just being pulled backwards a little bit so you can shoot forward. So there's no timeline here. There's no, okay, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. If only it was as easy as that. If only. If only we can just tick the boxes, right? Okay, I've got 1 more to go and I'll be great. Unfortunately, life does not work that way. The beautiful complexities of this human experience. So these are the 5 stages, but like I said, they are not kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are a multitude of different networks and webs of all the different rides that you're going to go on as you're processing a breakup. So the first one is typically the shattering stage. So when we are having a breakup, when we are coming out of a relationship, it feels like our world is just completely shattered to pieces, right? It's those initial feelings of, holy crap, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't breathe. My whole world has just collapsed in a second. All the visions and ideas and plans that you had completely shattered on the floor, and you almost feel naked. You feel like you're just standing there completely raw and in so much pain that there's not much that can happen when you're in that stage. You really just need to sit with the pain and feel into all those different sensations that you're feeling. And when you're at the stage, it really, like, your focus should not be forgiveness. Absolutely not. It should be self-care, because you are so raw in these times that you need to completely go back to your basic needs and make sure that you get through the days. And, in time, the process will move itself further on if you just pour into yourself, into self-care. And then the second stage is withdrawal. The withdrawal stage looks like missing them, trying to reach out to them, begging them, chasing them, pleading with them, holding on to hope. Like, it's almost like when you're going through withdrawal, whether it's with drugs or anything that you really like, like alcohol, chocolate, even when you're on a diet, and then you're just having these like insane cravings, so you just have to have it. It's the same with love. we go through with the withdrawal symptoms, and they are quite similar to physical withdrawal symptoms of heroin. And I'm not going to go into it too much in this episode, but maybe I will in the future, of what this stage can look like. So again, forgiveness should not be your focus here. It's compassion. Compassion for yourself. Compassion for the way that you might be showing up right now. If it is more of a begging and a chasing energy, or you're ugly crying every night, like, let yourself have the ugliest cries in the world. It's just, again, a stage we have to move through. And just knowing about what that looks like can really support you, and being able to show yourself so much compassion in these moments, surrounding yourself with a solid support system that can give you compassion and not tell you to just get on with it, get back up, go on out and find someone else. That'll be the solution to all your problems. No, we need people around us in these moments to really give us compassion and space to feel everything that we're going through. The third stage is the internalizing stage, and this is when we start to internalize a lot of what has happened. A lot of people get stuck on this stage, especially in a time where we think that we have sabotaged a relationship, or that it's our fault. The internalizing stage can be really painful, and we can get stuck here. And this is when we tell ourselves that we're not good enough, we're inadequate, we're not worthy, of course they don't want to be with us. And then we're placing them on that pedestal, idealizing them, thinking that they're the most perfect person in the world, and they have now rejected us and abandoned us. And we're full of regret. And maybe, we're fantasizing as well about coming back together with this person, and we're living in hope. But the internalizing stage is a very internal experience. And if we get stuck here, it can be quite dangerous, because we're picking up the blame and shame stick in this moment, and we're literally beating ourselves up with it. We're so self-critical, we're blaming, we're shaming, and we just feel like trash, like I said before. So again, in these moments, a lot of compassion needs to be had with yourself, that we are able to then turn this internalizing process into more of an integration process. And then I feel like the fourth stage can be a really important stage to support you to come out of that third one that a lot of us get stuck on, which is the rage stage. A lot of us don't allow ourselves to get angry, especially as women or even men. There's been a lot of negative connotations in society about what it means to be angry. Like, you shouldn't be angry, you should be able to control yourself. But actually, rage and anger is a very healthy emotion to feel. And we need to feel angry in order to move through the breakup process. Whether that's angry at ourselves, angry at others, angry at them for leaving you, angry at the world, angry at God, angry at anyone else who may have had an influence over this breakup, someone who may have encouraged you to say that thing that then made them walk out. Feel that anger, but make sure that you don't act on it in an unhealthy way. So what this means may be like, right, I'm going to go around there and have my revenge, and I'm going to do these awful, nasty things to these people because I'm so angry. It's okay to be angry, but we need to be able to have healthy outlets of that anger. This could be punching pillows. This could be going to kickboxing classes. This could be just screaming in the middle of a field. I remember doing this as well when I was doing my hike in Nepal, and I was going through the rage stage. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just need to scream and let it out and cry. And they'd be able to release our physiological sensations, whether this is crying or screaming, is so freaking healthy, guys. Like, I can't even stress how much this supports us in our processing of anything in life. We need to be able to release our emotions in this way. So by moving from internalizing to rage, we are already starting to move through the process and get to that acceptance and forgiveness stage. So a lot of my hiking in Nepal was around kind of coming out of the internalizing and getting to the rage. And then the last stage then is the acceptance and forgiveness stage. This is where we have given ourselves the permission to process the emotions that have been building up inside us, within us, And this can look like so different for everybody else of how that process looks through. And that's why it's really important to really think about what's right for you and to see it as something that has happened in your past. So we are able to come away from living in our emotional brain, which is where we are during those first 4 stages of the breakup, where we're very much in our emotional brain, and we are now able to shift into our more logical reasoning brain, our neocortex. It's coming more online now that we have given ourselves the space and time to process the emotions and see it as something in the past. We are now ready to turn that pain into our power. And in my process of forgiving myself, I just, through spending a lot of time in nature, and I really can't recommend it enough, guys, to spend so much time in nature when you're going through a breakup or sitting with a lot of internal negative core beliefs. It's so nourishing and healing to be in nature. And for me, every time I go through something, I just take myself off onto a big hike, turn my phone off, and really start to build that connection back up with myself. But whether this is going into a retreat, going on a solo vacation somewhere, just being able to have that time for yourself. And the realization that I was having was, I just can't keep beating myself up all the time and taking all the blame. And sometimes that looks like being able to call in some things that they may have done to contribute to the breakdown of the relationship, because no one is perfect. And, hindsight is a beautiful thing. That partner of mine was not perfect. He also did things that contributed to our relationship breakdown. There were things that he also needed to work on, but in the moment we think that it's all our fault and they did nothing wrong. So to make sure that we don't completely take on all the blame for ourselves, but we're also not projecting all the blame onto them as well. Like, relationships are a two-way street and there's two people involved. So being able to really genuinely come to that realization of what is done is done. There is nothing that I can do to go back into the past and change what has happened. No matter how much I beat myself up, no matter how much I blame and shame myself, what's done is done. But sometimes we're so afraid to let go and get ourselves to that space of acceptance because we believe that we deserve to be punished in some way. So we get stuck in that internalizing stage I was talking about. And when we get stuck in that stage, we're at risk of carrying over all those beliefs and fears and narratives that we have about ourselves and relationships in general into our next relationship. And the next relationship just could be a band-aid for the pain of the previous relationship, almost like a replacement, subconsciously, right? We're kind of unplugging from this past relationship, and we're kind of, floating about like a, what's the Hoover thing that's kind of going crazy, and we need to kind of plug into someone else. And then we're at risk of just taking all of that baggage into the next relationship. So that's why it's so important to be able to process and sift through it so we don't do that. And then the last one is to really look for the lessons. Really looking for the lessons. When you're able to get yourself to the space of forgiving yourself, accepting what's done is done, then you can be like, okay, what can I learn from this? I cannot change it. What can I learn from it? And that was a massive part of my forgiveness journey, was making that decision to make those changes for myself. So I don't have to feel that pain anymore, therefore causing others pain as well. It wasn't my fault, but it was my responsibility. And that's really what catapulted me into diving in deep with attachment styles. I've always known about them, I've studied them, I've applied them in my professional social work life, but I've never really done it personally. And that was my own personal journey then to starting to heal my anxious attachment style and figuring out what does it mean then to be more secure in relationships. And it's just looking at it like that this relationship that I have just moved out of, that I can't forgive myself for, is going to be the catapult into my breakthrough, into turning this pain into my power. So I want to invite you, my love, if you're struggling to forgive yourself, to first of all identify where you're at in the breakup process. Maybe it's too early. Don't rush it. You need to process your emotions. You need to be able to shift out of that internalizing stage so you don't carry those negative beliefs about yourself or about relationships. That needs your attention first. And the main energy you need to invite into that is compassion, not forgiveness, not yet. And forgiveness, like I said, is just a result of going through those stages. So identify where you're at in the breakup process. If you feel like you're there and you're ready to let go, accept, forgive, move on. Again, looks different for everybody, but I'm going to give you some things that I did. And it wasn't kind of like, okay, let me go on a hike and move all through these stages. Woohoo, day 20 coming out of this hike and it's all done. I can move on now. No, it was a process, let me tell you. I spent 6 months in Nepal really diving into my spiritual practices, and forgiveness for me was a spiritual practice. It had to start with me asking for forgiveness from God about everything that I did, and to myself as well. And so it was very much a spiritual practice, and it took those 6 months for me to kind of leave Nepal and think, okay, I feel like I am in that space now where I can say that I've forgiven myself. Some things that I did a lot of inner child work, because a lot of the sabotaging behavior that we do in our relationships is a result of our inner child feeling scared. They're scared that they're going to be abandoned. They're scared that they're not loved enough. They're scared that they're going to be alone. Whatever it is that is causing the sabotaging behavior, I needed to sit with her. I needed to understand her. I needed to forgive her. I needed to show her compassion. And I needed to love her. So inner child work was a massive part of my forgiveness rituals. I also wrote myself a letter. I kind of had some ideas of those times where I severely sabotaged, and I just brought those visions back into my subconscious and watched them unfold, and it was uncomfortable to watch, and I just tried to be with that version of myself back then and talk to her. I wrote her a letter, and I just allowed myself to just write out all the things that I was feeling towards her. But then also telling her that, but you know what, look at where we're at now because of that. We're getting to know ourselves more, we're connecting. So it's all unfolding as it should. Whether you believe that or not, it's up to you. I certainly do, that everything happens for a reason. If I didn't go through that breakup and sabotage that relationship, I would not be sitting here right now talking to you. I just wouldn't, because that was such a catalyst into my own healing. So just knowing that it's all unfolding for a reason, and to trust the process, to really surrender to the process and let go of trying to control too much of the outcome, but having that faith that it's all leading you somewhere that's going to be even more beautiful than you can ever imagine. And the last one is just whenever you find yourself beating yourself up with that blame and shame stick, just being conscious and aware of it, and being able to replace it for the compassion feather, what I call the compassion feather. And what this means is, like, if you start saying, oh my God, you were so stupid. You were so stupid for saying that. Why did you say that? If only you didn't say that, then maybe blah, blah. Okay, I hear you. Here's my there's the blame and shame stick, beating myself up right now. I'm doing 50 rounds in the ring with myself. Come out of the ring. Take off the gloves. Let me pick up the feather. And let me give myself some gentle compassion touches. So this could look like stroking your arms. This could look like hugging yourself, and you say something compassionate toward yourself. You can say, okay, what you said was not the nicest thing to say, but this doesn't mean anything about you as an individual. You said that because you were so afraid, and I forgive you for that. I'm showing you some compassion for that. I still love you regardless. So being that parent that we needed back then, if we did say something mean or stupid, it doesn't mean anything about us as an individual. So just being that parent again for yourself. And again, that's just inner child work. So yes, and I promise you, if you set that intention and that commitment to yourself, that you will reach that forgiveness stage, that you will move yourself through the process so you don't repeat the same thing in your next relationship. I promise you, you will get there. You will get there, whether that is with yourself on a self-paced journey, or whether you decide to get support from somebody to help you go through that journey, to really set that intention and to go through it, to sit with the discomfort and the pain and start to see the power and the breakthroughs unfolding in front of you. I'm actually quite excited for you, for your journey. This is taking you somewhere that you cannot imagine right now, because maybe it's just too painful. All right, my loves, I hope that this was supportive and helpful for you in your forgiveness process. And I will be releasing a full course on breakups. It will be called Breakup with Your Breakup. And it is a self-paced course. And this will be released in a few months' time. But if you want to be able to get early access to that, just reach out and let me know that you've listened to this podcast episode and you would love to do even more deeper work into all the different stages that I've talked about today in this course. You can reach out to me on Instagram, an email, all the links are below. And I can get you on that list to be able to receive early access. Until then, my loves, give yourself lots of love and compassion as you move through. I love you. I am here for you, for anything that you need. And I'll see you in the next episode. Mwah. Thank you so much for joining me on the Relationship Rehab podcast. I hope that this episode has supported you in healing, growing, and evolving out of insecure attachment and unhealthy relationship patterns and into safe, authentic love with yourself and others. If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would just take a second to rate and review this podcast. Every rating and review from you guys counts, as it really helps this podcast to grow so it can reach more people who need to hear this content. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Take a screenshot of this podcast episode, share it on your IG stories, and tag me at the.relationship.rehab with your biggest takeaway from the episode. I really do love reading them. See you back here next week for another episode on the Relationship Rehab podcast.